Hey everyone, Internet PC's book reader here. Today I want to talk about Overgeared by saenal and Monohamba. I rarely really talk about manhwa. There was for the entertainment purpose only solo leveling, where as I predicted, the anime will be underwhelming because it was a manhwa solo carried by the art of the late Sangrad, and that is only good because it had a nice link, so the sequel solo leveling Ragnarok is ass. Then there's of course the omniscient reader viewpoint, the only manhwa that has a story in it that is more than just pure entertainment. Manhwa is not yet at the level of manga, not because they don't have any talented writers or lack of manhwa artists with godly arts, it's because it's still a media art form that have no editors. A lot of literature and manga storytelling benefited from having editors on their story that help sharpen the story that the authors wanted to tell. But most manhwa is still at the quality of web novel that treated writing like grinding to put out more chapters. So when you're reading them, it often feels like, it's been 300 chapters already. When are we actually going to get out of these filler episodes? Take for example Legendary Moonlight Sculpture. If you're a manhwa reader only, you most likely never heard of it. But if you're a web novel reader, this was the god of fantasy MMORPG from Korea. Every arc feels like we're going through an epic adventure, but the story just refused to end. The main character have done everything he can do in the game that he's in, and the story still goes on until one day it just stopped abruptly. But despite its very underwhelming end, the story had such a huge influence. You can see the archetype of Wit, its main character, in many popular manhwa nowadays. And that's also the case with Overgeared, a manhwa that is in the same genre as Moonlight Sculpture and Sword Art Online, fantasy MMORPG. And a lot of it is similar at face value with Moonlight Sculpture. For one, it's a VR MMORPG and the main character is a game addict, a loser in real life that is of course treated like a loser by others, rightfully. Then of course he got lucky and found a legendary rare item that will eventually make him stronger and more famous. Pagma Blacksmith class is the usual wuxia trope of lucky encounter. But if there's anything that differentiated it from Wit in Moonlight Sculpture, the story is self-aware enough to portray him as a selfish prick with a hint of self-awareness that he's a bad person. He still have a tiny little bit of conscience. After he got legendary class, he got forced into more quests and died a few times that his level is -3, where he is forced to start the game from the ground up. And it is here that for the first time we can see some good in grit. His persistence. He is good at one thing and one thing only, hard work. And with his new blacksmith class, he wanted to try blacksmithing. Thankfully, he met a blacksmith that is kind enough to give him some quests and guidance to not only raise his level back to 1, but also give him his first experience as a blacksmith. This is also the first time that we see his potential to become overgeared, with him making an epic arrow with up-sub status compared to what is currently at the market, which will make a decently ranked guild, the Sedaka Guild, filled with a small number of high rankers to notice him. He then moved to a different city where he found a blacksmith that has been squeezed to alcoholism by another merchant company named Khan. At first he wanted to just pretend he never see it since this is not his problem, but as I mentioned, he did still have a little bit of conscience that has not died yet. And while he's being indecisive about what to do, thankfully for Khan, a quest notification with great reward came up, so the game made his decision for him to help Khan. Borrowing OP equipment from Khan, he managed to get rid of the thugs. Khan thanked him, and of course he also just happened to open up a quest related to Pagma, the legendary class that Grid just got. It's not manhwa if there's no plot convenience followed by another plot convenience followed by another plot convenience, and so on and so forth. He also got another quest to help Khan by entering a blacksmith competition against the company that threatened him, which Grid accepted mostly because of the money he can get from the quest. He then got trained by Khan for this tournament, where he met a few more characters that will be his friends later in the future. But most importantly, Khan. Meeting Khan and becoming his disciple is maybe the first time he learned how to be human, which if you think about it, it is sad because it's not like his parents are bad at parenting, considering Grid's sister turns out into a decent person. It's just Grid is a chronically online gamer. He's even fully equipped with being petty and insecure, often being hostile to people that he considers more fortunate than him. So unfortunately, since people in real life can help him, we would rather spend his time online. An NPC in a game is the one who had to teach him what he failed to learn in real life. He managed to save Khan's smithy despite losing the competition unfairly because he got saved by his competitor Eufemina for her request. Then Khan gave him his smithy where he can fully work in the game as a blacksmith for now. Meanwhile, Chizuka from the Sedaka Guild grew more desperate and impatient for trying to find the mysterious blacksmith that sold the epic rank arrows. And one of the members gave her the information about the competition that Grid just had with Eupemina. Since only Eupemina's name came out publicly from the competition, one of Zodiac Guild Faker from League of Legends followed her, causing a misunderstanding that made them fight. Eupemina won against Faker, causing the guild to start hunting for her. They eventually went to Khan Smithy, making a bad impression to Grid, who had started to care for the NPC. During this time, Grid also managed to get involved with the ruler of Winston City, where Khan Smithy is, and created a legendary weapon for them, where he is finally starting to make a lot of money from the game, which is great because misfortune struck his family in real life, and for the first time ever in his life, he decided to be a responsible adult who don't just prioritize himself but also his family. Part of this growth in him was due to him getting closer to Khan, who have become like a mentor figure to him. Of course, since this is an action manhwa, Grid will eventually need to start getting stronger in fights, not just spending his time in the smithy. He managed to finish his class quest after hunting for some time and managed to get some attack skill for Pagma swordsmanship. Then he got involved again with the politics of this world by meeting Piaro from the desert country and creating a legendary shield that got stolen immediately. It was during this that he finally met with members of the Zodiac Guild properly. They fought a boss battle together where the fight takes a bit too long since it's also partially to introduce more of the members of the guild, but they eventually win the fight where for the first time in a long time, Grid will have to socialize with other people outside of NPCs. Thankfully, he has grown a little bit compared to the start of the game, so he doesn't immediately make too much of an ass of himself during this encounter. Grid decided on another day to meet with the guild, but before that, he had to deal with his past insecurities by having him deal with his bullies from the past. He started to question his life and his priority up until now, but thanks to the people he has met so far, good people, Khan that accepted him despite being an NPC, Huroi who is worriedly taking an oath in game too seriously, Regas who helped him because of his own goodness, he managed to move forward. The next day, he decided to go on with the guild meeting where he officially joined Zodiac Guild as their blacksmith, especially after seeing how they treated Khan kindly and recognized his worth as a person even if it's as a blacksmith in a game. And that's basically how Overgeared story goes. Rinse, repeat, and escalate. I'm simplifying a ton of things from the story, but most of what triggered our dopamine from reading this is not really the story. Some of it is still really good, and seeing Grid grow, albeit as limited as this kind of shonen story is able to go, is slightly satisfying. But the best of the story is still from seeing the upgrades that the characters got. Better equipment, better skill, level ups, is the kind of dopamine hit that playing Green Dawn can give, but in manhwa form instead of game. It is of course still just a turn your brain off entertainment kind of thing where the character writing is mostly ass. There are only two types of characters beside Grid here, his allies or his enemies. And worst of all is the woman character that become his love interest because they are clearly written just to become his love interest. Is the kind of character writing that was satirized in games like Doki Doki Literature Club. But if that is what you're looking for, the stories still have a lot of charm, the characters are different enough from one another that you can immediately differentiate them. There are some entertaining character dynamic between Grid and some of his friends, despite most of them still worship him a bit too much that felt a bit cringe, but some of them, like his rivalry with Kraugle, is always fun to read. The story does just suffer from the lack of editor, where because the author is trying to keep extending the story because it makes him more money as long as he keep pumping more chapter, it goes on and on until the plot become nonsensical and only someone who have rotted his brain and addicted to web novel trash can enjoy them. This is a weird way to recommend a story, but I do recommend you to read some of the good earlier part of the story, then drop it whenever it run out of juice. If I just consider the good parts, or maybe just the first 500 or 300 or even less chapters, I might give this a 2.75 or even 3, but overall with all the bad parts and the nonsensical direction this story took later on, I give this a 1.75. What do you think? Let me know if I miss anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.